'Cause every day ought to be a bad day for you.
Hi, and welcome to the Make Things Club, a club for people who just like to make things. I'm Sarah, and I am the host. I'm also really not feeling very good. This is my second take at this podcast today, and I thought I felt awful for the first part of it. I feel even not any better. So yeah, I actually recorded this podcast earlier today. It's around 1 o'clock in the afternoon right now, and I thought I would just bang this out before I had to go pick up my partner from the airport around 11, quarter after 11. So I basically talked to my computer for 40 minutes and pressed record just to find that I was actually starting the recording instead of stopping it. So this is why you don't podcast when you think you're basically incapable of doing anything. If you are new to the podcast, thank you for tuning in. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and spending some time with me. We can hang out and you won't catch whatever I've got because we're internet friends. If you want to follow along or stalk me on the internet, you can find me as Loose Pages, LOOSEPAGES, on pretty much any version of social media that I happen to be on. The only thing that I am not Loose Pages on is Ravelry because someone already had that. So on Ravelry, you can find me as romperlust, ROMPERLUST. I also have a podcast group for the podcast on Ravelry, so if you wanted to join that, it is the Make Things Club podcast. Yeah, it's Thursday, March 3rd, and I've been sick the last couple days. Nothing in particular, just sweating, lots of sweating. Really uncomfortable. My stomach has not been happy with me and I can't keep food inside of it. So I will stop talking about that because I've already been uncomfortable for 2 days and thinking about how uncomfortable I am just makes me want to cry a little bit. So haven't been feeling well. I'll spare you the details, but it's just been a long couple days and the only thing I ever really wanted to do was just sleep so that I could avoid feeling gross. Just some housekeeping stuff. So there's going to be noise. The whatever building across the alley from me is getting new windows today. So if you hear some noise, it's because people are literally climbing up the only way that they can get into this place. So I'll give you a bit of a backstory. I live in a condo off White Ave in Edmonton, and White Ave is kind of one of like the strips. So there's lots of like stores, pubs, restaurants, that kind of thing. It's one of those. I thought my cat was barking for a second. I'm so distracted today. I'm sorry. It's going to be like this. You can bow out if you want, but I promise to get through this podcast for you guys. I live off White, so it's one of those strips, the type where they put lights in their trees and there's like an old community association with it. So I kind of live in that sort of a neighborhood. And there's a really, really cool bookstore across the alley from me. And there's 2 suites on the top of it that I don't quite know what they are. I don't know if they're a business. I don't know if they live there. They're not the owners of the bookstore, that's for sure. So I don't know what exactly they're doing there, but the guy always manages to catch me interpretive dancing or walking around without a shirt on whenever he's there. So they're putting in new windows. It might be a little bit loud. I might have to open the window just because I'm dying, but I'm going to try and ignore it and pretend that it's not happening in the background. So another thing that I'll talk about briefly is the you and me swap. So this is a swap that I think it happens every 3 months, every 4 months, but they generally do most of their social mediaing on Instagram. So if you wanted to join for the next one, their handle is at you and me, so EWE and me swap. I did send my package out yesterday, so I hope that it gets there safely. It was so much fun putting it together, and I had a really, really good time picking stuff and curating stuff, and I really tried to put as much strictly Canadian stuff in there as possible. So I hope she likes it. So I did want to talk about this briefly just in case anyone else is kind of in the same boat as me when it comes to signing up for fiber swaps. So the You and Me swap had a form that you filled out on their website to enter, where you put in what you liked, what you love to knit, what you're not fond of, what kind of weight you like, if you have color preferences, and just generally a questionnaire so that your partner can get to know you and get a head start on shopping for you. So I think it was only an option in the States where you could check that you wanted to keep your swap partner, if possible, to be a domestic swap partner. I checked that, and I also wrote in the notes, our country's dollar is a sad state of affairs, as everyone in the world has to know by now. We're kind of a joke. But I put that I would prefer to have a North American partner, and that wasn't obviously granted to me because my partner lives in Portugal. But when I went to send it yesterday, I went to Canada Post to mail it out, and there was a bit of a sticker shock when it came to how much it cost to ship international. It ended up being pretty much two-thirds of the claim that I made. So like almost half of my total package was basically spent on shipping. And that's a lot of money to spend when I'd prefer to be spending that much money on 2 skeins of yarn for somebody. So I did write the swap coordinators, Tony, and I told her that it would be really nice if in the future, my cat's gonna knock everything over in a second. Come here, baby. Oh my God. Come here. Come here. Oh, Stella Beans. I did mention that it would be really nice in the future if Canadians can kind of opt in on that. It really physically hurt me yesterday spending that much money on shipping when I'd rather have put that much money into her package. So I did write them and ask them if it's possible for Canadians to get in on that, just because that's a lot of money to be spending. And it kind of soured the experience for me. That everything else was great. If you're thinking of signing up for it, obviously do it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to put stuff together that you aren't using for yourself. So I'm a very selfish knitter. I tend to knit for myself. I tend to buy really nice yarn with no intention of giving it to anybody else. So this kind of forced me to think about other people for a second, and it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. But the postage was ridiculous. So I did ask her if it's possible for Canadians to get in and possibly keep it North America. North America based. So we'll see how that goes. So that's just something that I'd caution people with is it's a big commitment signing up to a fiber share. It's a financial commitment. So just keep that in mind. And especially when you're not thinking about postage, it can push you over the edge a little bit. So I really enjoyed it. I hope that the next time I sign up that it will be something a little bit closer. Ow, we need to trim your nails. But I'm hoping that, sorry, my cat is gonna be a pain in the ass. I'm hoping that I can keep it somewhere a little bit closer because that's money that I'd rather spend on somebody else instead of Canada Post, because I hate Canada Post. I have quite a vendetta that goes back a couple years now with Canada Post. So just be aware that that's kind of a thing that I wasn't thinking of when it came to me signing up for the swap. I do have a couple finished objects that I'll talk about this week. The first one is my Rike hat. And forgive me, I didn't write down who the pattern's by, but I'm fairly certain it's Sarah Young. So it's a free pattern on Ravelry. And it's just a slouchy kind of beanie type thing. So this is mine. Okay, I have a bit of a DIY setup today. I have my ironing board. Oh my God. Get out. I have my ironing board set up and my computer, like my iMac, on top of my ironing board and a bunch of stuff piled on top. So every time my cat walks across it, it literally like sinks and I'm gonna lose my computer. I know, I'm living dangerously today. I'm also like fogged up, not thinking straight. So I have my Rike hat, and I made this with my Color Adventures stash enhancement skein from last week, and the color is Olive Grove, and it's literally just garter stitch. That's all it is. You have a smaller needle doing the bottom, so your stitches are a bit tighter, and then you have a bigger needle at the top, and I don't like the needle size that I used. It's cute, but I was lazy and I just wanted to get it done, so I'll probably be redoing it, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I made my Rike hat, I like it. I'd like to make one for my partner. He's got a toque that his sister made, Carla from the Relentless Knitting podcast. Carla made him a hat, and I'm pretty sure it's the Graham hat. And it's supposed to be a slouchy type of hat, but I think it's a little too big for him, and I'd like to make him something just a little bit less falling off his head. So he folds it up a bit, and it isn't supposed to be worn like that. It kind of drives me crazy a little bit, but I'd like to make him another one for his birthday, and I'd like to make him one out of this pattern. So this is mine. I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna frog it and knit it up a little bit tighter and a little less. So once again, I have that problem where the circumference of my head is big and fat and I need to go up a needle size, but the rest of my head is really shallow. So the next time I do it, I think I'll go down a needle size, because I did go up from the pattern just based on a quick swatch that I did, but with the weight of everything else that comes in, it's probably a good idea just to keep it nice and snug. So I used a 4.5 and a 5.5 bamboo circular. I hate bamboo, I'm not gonna lie, I really hate bamboo. So if anyone has any preferences for circular needles that aren't bamboo, let me know, because I'm tired of knitting hats with bamboo needles, because it's not fun for me. It's too sticky. I end up making a hole in my thumb, pushing the yarn on. So I'd like to make another one of these for myself, just better, and I'd like to make one for my partner. But can we just look at this yarn? Isn't this beautiful? Like, this is begging to be a sweater for me. This colorway is incredible, but I don't want to make a fingering sweater, of course. So I'd like to find a chunkier thing. I think that'll be a really awesome sweater. And I'm starting to think of sweater patterns that I'd like to do, because it's only how many months until Knit City, which is October 1st and 2nd, I think, this year. And last year I only had, I think, one finished object with me that I had made myself, which was my geometry shawl. So this year I need a sweater. I need to have a sweater. It's like going to Rhinebeck without a sweater. You just can't do it. So I'd like to find a green in this and make myself a sweater out of it. So that's my first finished object. My second finished object is actually not knitting related. If you remember from my first and second, I think I had talked about this kit, my first and second podcast episodes, I had mentioned the Heidi Boyd Whimsy Stitches kit that I had got from Carla for Christmas. And this I picked up, or she picked up, from Art of Yarn, which is a yarn store in Kelowna. So this is the kit, and this is my finished object. They're close. But seriously, this was so much fun to do, and look at how friggin' cute this guy is. So this is actually my first stint in embroidery, and I really liked it. So I think I'll be making a couple more just out of felt and stuff that I can find on the internet to motivate me. But this is, once again, Heidi Boyd. You can find the kit online at artofyarn.com, and I finally finished it. So this is going to find some really nice place to go in my apartment. Ideally, I'd really like to have a lot of little embroidery hoops everywhere, full of either cross stitch or just embroidery or felted stuff. And I have a couple in mind that are kind of smart ass and snarky sayings that I'd like in my bathroom. So that'll be something that I'm hoping to do more of in the future. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, so that's pretty much the only things that I finished this week. Now works in progress is actually pretty exciting, and one of them is hidden. So my partner is home. I got him from the airport. We drove home and he wants to have a power nap. So I thought now would be a really good time while he's napping to talk about this. So I'll get this over with because I want to hide it again. But I posted a photo on Instagram a couple days ago about a dye. I had my dye pot in it and some yarn soaking, and a couple people were like, how did it turn out? How did it go? And I didn't respond, and that's because it's a secret. So I wanted to make, if you remember from a couple episodes ago, I was working on a pair of simple house slippers for my partner in just a boring gray patterns wool, classic wool worsted in the charcoal colorway. But that's not special. He's turning 30 on the 17th, and I wanted to make him something special. So I actually decided to try and hand dye him a custom colorway for just him, and I think it worked out okay. So here's my skein of yarn, and it looks a little bit more like violet blue than it actually is, but it's pretty close to the color. So this is just the classic wool worsted patterns in the white, and I just skeined it up with my nitty knotty and threw it in a dye pot. And this is the slipper so far. So I wasn't sure about the color when I was doing the garter. Once I got to the stockinette though, I really think it's pretty cool. So there's some blues, some grays, some blacks, and then I'm not sure if it'll show up on the camera, but every once in a while there's like a couple flecks of orange. And yeah, so this is my Spin Crisis colorway. And I'm really excited about it. I hope he likes it. So I'm working on this slipper. I've got maybe a couple inches before I start the toe decreases. I have a class tonight that I'll probably work on this with, just because I don't want him to see me working on it. But there's his slipper. I'm thinking of making him a hat, a Rike hat out of some more hand-dyed yarn. But I'm not sure if I like how thick this is for that hat. Especially with us coming into spring right now, I don't want it to be something that will, like, it's more of a style thing than it is a functional purpose. But yeah, so I'm so excited about that. I think for my first solo dye attempt, I think it worked pretty well. So that goes back in the drawer. Yeah, so that's my first work in progress. My second work in progress, if you'll remember, in the Constellation bag was my sock that pretty much hadn't seen the light of day since January. So if you'll notice, just want to make sure, oh, I dropped a stitch. Give me a second. There. So if you notice, I turned the heel, yay! And I finished my gusset decreases, and now I'm on to the foot. So finally, this guy is in the works. I love this koigu. Isn't that pretty? I love hand-painted yarn. It's just my favorite. So I'm not experiencing any laddering, I found. My laddering is basically non-existent this time. And what I've been doing is loosening up. I'm generally a tight knitter, and especially with DPNs, I can be really tight because I'm just scared that the stitches will fall off the needles. But this time I decided to just loosen up and enjoy it. And also tugging on that second stitch when you change needles has been really, really helpful too. So I just want to verify that I found success with that. I know a lot of people tend to just reef on that first stitch, but that second stitch is where you actually get the nice tightness. The only thing that I'm finding that I'm not happy with so far is my heel is huge. So this is just a typical slip stitch heel, the Eye of Partridge heel, and I don't like it. I think the next time that I make a sock, it's definitely going to be an afterthought heel. I've been watching tutorials on how to do that, and I think I want to give Magic Loop a go, especially if I'm going to do an afterthought, like, might as well. So I did turn the heel with the pink as well, and I just think it looks way too bulky. I'd like something a little bit daintier. So like, I think with the afterthought heel, you kind of go down maybe about halfway through, so it's just that as a heel. And I think that would just look nicer. The only other thing that I'm kind of not happy with is, if you see here, here's my gusset decreases on this side. But on the other side, I've got an issue here, and I'm not happy with that because this is where it's gonna wreck itself when I wear it. So I'm not sure how that happened. I'm not happy with it. This side is fine. This side is not fine. So that's the only other thing about the sock that I'm kind of bummed about so far. But it's on the works. Hopefully it'll be finished soon so that it can sit in a container by itself until I decide to sew or to knit the other one, which with my track record will probably be sometime next year. So I turn the heel. That one's, it's going. And another thing that I've been working on is my monster. So since this blanket is now a joke with most of my friends and family, because I just don't want to do it. I started it March 5th, 2015, and I remember that because I cast it on during the Alberta provincial election, which saw the first change in government in 44 years. I cried. But I'm a pretty liberal person, and we've had a conservative government messing things up for the last 44 years, so that was the first time that our new Democratic Party won. So I remember when I cast this on because it was a big day. But then it just sits. So I had kind of talked about my first two colors, and yesterday when I couldn't get off the couch or eat food or do anything, I decided to just binge watch TV and work on this guy. So I've got I'm halfway through the gray right now. I need to do about another 18 rows of the gray before I switch colors. And the colors that I have left are the dark navy and the pumpkin orange. And I'm not sure if I want to do the navy or the orange next. I think it would be nice to kind of maybe do the orange. But I'm working on it. Things are happening. I just wanted to prove. I changed my photo on my project page on Ravelry too, so it's not the same one that's been up for the last 8 months. But I started working on it again, and I just want to get it done because I started another blanket. So this is a new work in progress that I had pretty much just started over the last week, and I started a Cozy Memories blanket. So Eric of the Sticks Plus Twine podcast started a hashtag that says share the cozy. I think the intent behind it was to be more excited about the blanket and the yarn and how it works together than being really meticulous about telling other people who gave the yarn and what it's from. But at the same time, I also just want to share the cozy because I love the Cozy Memories blanket. So my first square is this one. And that's my Fildar sock, Folk 100 sock yarn from my first ever pair of completed socks. And that's in the Anise colorway. And the next one, get out of there. The next one is actually a mini skein that I got from Laura of the Fawn Knits podcast. So when I signed up for her Space Bags subscription, you get a mini skein or a little, you get a little mini with each bag. So this was the one that I got for February, and I think it's super pretty. My light's a little harsh, but you can see there's gold and peach and coral and some blush and some yellow and orangey. It's really pretty. So that's my second square. And I was in the process of casting on a third one, which is a Madeline Tosh Unicorn Tails, and forgive me, I can't remember what this one's called. The only problem that I'm noticing so far is that I'm going to have to learn to not be as type A as I usually am. This blanket is probably going to cause me some stress because of that. But if you look carefully, I should have picked up a stitch at the top here, so it doesn't lie straight and flat, which is going to drive me crazy. I'm going to have to redo it. So full disclosure, I'm probably going to redo these squares because that's a big jog, and I don't want it to cause a problem when I start doing other squares with it. So I'll probably redo that one. Other than that, I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm using a pair of my carbons with a thing on it, but they're 2.75 millimeter needles. I did have a circular set of 2.75, but they're really short. I think they're only 16 inches. and they don't work. So I'm going to need to get myself a pair of straight needles, and I would like to keep them in the 2.75. So I'm going to go and find myself a pair of needles. Probably if I go to Calgary next week, I'll look at Stash to see if they have a nice pair that I can just kind of dedicate to my blanket, because I don't know why I thought a pair of circulars would be helpful, but they're not. So I started my Cozy Memories blanket. Yay. Another thing that I'll talk about briefly is my obsession. I have an obsession with the Great British Bake Off right now. And that's what I was binge watching yesterday during my knitting spree, because I just couldn't focus on anything else and felt like I was dying. Very similar to right now. I'm not having a good day. But I was watching the Great British Bake Off, and if you haven't heard of it, it's a reality TV show from Britain, except it's adorable. Usually when you watch reality TV shows, especially like American ones, I find that they're so mean. Just even the editing and how they're put together, like as a former film studies student, I really pay attention to editing and that kind of stuff, especially in documentaries, just because I love documentaries. It's my favorite format. I will watch a documentary over a Hollywood movie any day. When I did my documentary film class, however, they really wanted to emphasize that documentaries are not unbiased, and they're very they're edited just like a movie, just to prove a point and all that kind of stuff. So when I watch reality TV shows in the States, they're very harsh. The editing is harsh. The cinematography is harsh. It's just very cutthroat. But I'm watching Great British Bake Off, and it's just so lovely. It's really wonderful to watch. One of the hosts is Sue Perkins, who I adore from QI whenever she's on, which is another British show that I love. But the whole premise of the show is so lovely, and there's camaraderie between the contestants. Obviously the goal is to be named the ultimate like baker. And the contestants are always lovely to each other. There was one contestant whose cake fell on the floor, and the judges even came over and were like, this is how we can salvage it. Just pick this up, be careful, and then put that on the plate. It'll be fine. So the lack of I don't want to say competition, because there's still competition, but it's friendly competition. Nobody gets interviewed to the side and says, I hope this woman falls down the stairs, or I hope that their KitchenAid mixer blows up. Like, it's good fun. It's nice. It's just lovely to watch. So I've been watching a lot of it. And actually I almost finished a whole season yesterday during the day, and I needed a break. So I started reading a book that I got, and I showed it last week, which is the Learn to Sew with Lauren. And I was reading through the tutorials section, and I didn't know that she was British when I picked it up, but I'm so excited because I learned from this page. She was chosen to be part of the television competition, which is called the Great British Sewing Bee. So guess what, guys? I have my binge watching television in motion. So if there's a sewing one, I can't even handle it. So I got really excited. So yeah, I love baking shows. I watch Chopped in the Food Network more than people should, but this Great British Bake Off has just been wonderful and good for my soul. So I highly recommend checking it out. When it comes to stash enhancement this week, I don't think I really did anything. I couldn't do any damage this week. So there's just little tiny things that I had picked up. I went to Fabricland, and they had a couple things cut out, like fat quarters and stuff that were just in a bin. And I found a couple things that I liked. So there's this guy. Let's do... And I really liked it. It's one of my favorite colors, and it's got paisley on it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I wanted to pick it up anyways. And then I found this one, which reminds me of stars, which I'm super excited about. And it's a little bit reflective, so it's a really dark royal blue with some reflective stars on it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those. I'm basically at this point just collecting fat quarters for fun. So that's kind of a stash enhancement thing. And then the other thing that came in the mail the other day are my pins. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for the crinkling. The crinkling is my favorite. So whenever podcasters get new things and they're like, oh, it crinkles, I'm super excited about it. I know Molly of a Homespun House does too. So I'm not going to apologize for crinkling. I'm sorry, it's just fun. But these are a couple buttons from Sea and Lake, which is a Canadian store. They have an Etsy shop. And they have really, really cute things in it. Cards, stationery. I think they have posters and stuff that you can put in frames, as well as buttons. And I had seen these buttons from a couple of friends on Instagram that did like an advent calendar, a knitting advent calendar. So Sarah and Jocelyn enable me all the time whenever they do this stuff, because it's so much fun to watch and see what they got each other. So I got myself some of these buttons. And there's a little bit of a reflection. But you can see there's one that says yarn core, I'd rather be knitting, got a couple needles, and then a ball of yarn. So I'm going to put these on something special. I'm really excited about them. Support Canadian, yay. And then another thing, a mail day thing that came, which isn't for me, it's for my partner, who, he actually collects patches from missions that he does. He was in Hawaii for 4 months 2 years ago doing a simulated Mars mission, and recently was in Philadelphia to do he was in Florida as well to do zero gravity training and apoxia training. So apoxia is when you're running out of oxygen. So if you're on a plane and the oxygen cuts out, that's kind of a pretty big situation, but that would be apoxia. So he's got a couple patches from those missions, and I found him one from Etsy. The store is called Ello there, and it's a solar system Hope, Discover, Explore, little astronaut on it. So that's going into his birthday package. If you watch this podcast, Ross, I swear to God, I don't think you do, but just pretend to be surprised, because you're not supposed to see any of this. So yeah, that was kind of my stash enhancement. When it comes to, just want to make sure I didn't forget anything. When it comes to things that I want to feature on my podcast, I just want to remind everyone that it's not always going to be knitting. One of the things that I was very interested in when it came to coming up with a name or a premise or anything like that, the reason why I went with Make Things Club is because I don't only want to just knit. And I know that's surprising because that's all I do, but I really want to focus on other things as well. So the things aspect, make things, is supposed to be pretty open-ended so that I can kind of just showcase everything that I am working on, regardless of what the medium is. Another thing that I've kind of been working on, and I mentioned this a while ago, I can't remember what episode, but just coming up with better things to put on my body, input in my body, and I think that it only needs to take 3 days of me feeling as awful as I feel right now to kind of be like, I should probably start eating vegetables. So I picked this book up from Indigo on the online store, and it's a really awesome, just kind of starter book. So they have everything categorized based on like skin or hair or whatever, and all of the ingredients in here are actually things that you would use. I know one of the things that I found when I was starting a Pinterest board about like do-it-yourself beauty and that kind of thing is a lot of the recipes are super fancy, where you would need special oils or special essential oils or weird things that I don't have access to without really making an effort into finding them. And it's expensive, and it's in a way wasteful to buy a thing of clay or whatever it is that you're not going to use regularly. So the thing that I like about this book is that most of the recipes are very simple. They're very easy, things that you would have already, and if you don't have them already, it's things that you could buy and you would still be using, that won't just collect dust on your shelves when you're done with it. So I really like this book. I'm going to be focusing on a lot more skincare stuff So I'm kind of hoping that you guys will be cool with me recommending recipes or ingredients and things that I've found are working really well. It's not from my book, but I can't remember what website it was. I was looking up just a really quick toner because my face does this thing. My skin is really weird when it comes to transition seasons. Once it kind of figures out what season it is, it's really good about being consistent. But now that we're looking at going into spring, it's still kind of a yo-yo situation with the weather where it'll be really nice one day and really cold the other day, or the wind chill will kick in. So my skin's not sure what to do, and I've been getting really oily, weird breakouts on my face and my chest. So I looked up a recipe for a toner, and I'm just using one of my canning jars. But it's actually, I don't know if it's working or if I'm like one of those people that, you know, like the ones that think that they're sick all the time and then like a placebo effect. But I'm using 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar and then 3/4 cup of really strong brewed green tea. The one thing that's really great about this is that it doesn't smell too much like apple cider vinegar. I know sometimes when I'm using apple cider vinegar on my face, if you turn your head or something, you get a whiff of it and it's just awful. So the green tea really keeps that in check. But I found just from applying it yesterday, I'm feeling much more confident about doing this homemade beauty thing. So I'm hoping that you guys will be cool with me either putting up blog posts or talking about it briefly on the podcast, that these are things that I'm also looking into and doing. And if you have any recipes or anything that you're really fond of when it comes to face, hair, another thing that I'd like to do is to stop washing my hair every day, which is going to be really hard for me. I have really fine, like thick, but really fine hair that's really poker straight and doesn't do anything unless there's lots of product in it. And I'm finding that when I have to wash my hair every day, it really takes a lot of the life out of it. So I'm hoping to do that thing where you gradually just wash every couple days up to a week and let my scalp and my hair adjust. But this whole idea I'm really uncomfortable with. So if you have any ideas of making that transition a little easier, any cute little beanie patterns that you want to show me so that on those days where I'm like, I can't pass this as hair, I could just throw something on. Or if you have any rinses or homemade shampoos that you find are really gentle and less harsh than the stuff that you can buy in stores, I'd love to hear about it. So send me a message, comment below, anything like that. I'd love to kind of hear about your experience if you've been doing something like this. I guess this kind of transitions into like the chit chat segment of the show, which is new, something that I'm throwing in. But yeah, my partner turns 30 on the 17th and I turned 30 in May. And I had this dream of turning 30 healthy. And I know that means a lot of things to different people, but for me, especially just, you know, being someone who has dealt with depression and anxiety and, you know, that kind of mood disorder aspect of things, food is something that I struggle with a lot. I can go from waking up in the morning to going out at 2:30 and I still wouldn't have eaten anything besides a coffee. I don't like to eat early in the day and it makes me feel quite sick. I'm also not feeling very well right now, but it makes me feel really gross to eat in the morning, and I'm trying to get back on a habit of eating something healthy, just eating. It's not good to fast like I do, and it's not intentional. It's just I'll start doing something and forget to eat, or I won't be feeling great and I won't want to eat, or, you know, I'll be depressed or having some sort of issue with meds or something like that, and I just don't want to eat. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be working on personally over the next couple weeks is establishing a routine and making sure to eat. So that's a big part of things that I have to work on for myself. So I'd like to start being a little bit healthier, remembering that vegetables exist in general and that, you know, they're more than decoration on pasta. So I'd like to do a lot more of the homemade beauty, meal planning kind of thing. So if anyone is really interested in swapping recipes or like letting me know about their experiences with meal planning and being an adult and eating food groups and that kind of thing. Because for me, I just can't be bothered, and it feels like a chore having to do the grocery shopping and having to figure out what I'm going to eat. Because for the most part, my partner doesn't. I don't want to say he doesn't contribute, but it's not high on his priorities either. So it just kind of feels like if I didn't do it, nobody would, which makes me resentful for it. So if you have any recipes, books that I should check out, that kind of stuff, let me know, because I'd like to start being a little healthier and working on myself a bit more. So another thing that I wanted to chat about real quick is in the same vein of my partner's birthday on the 17th, his sister, who is Carla, I've talked about her many times. I have like sister-in-laws. One of them will actually be my real sister-in-law in June because she's marrying my brother and they have a date and everything. And the other one is that, well, when you've been with someone for 6 years, they're your in-laws. It doesn't matter if you're married or not. So Ross and I, our anniversary is coming up. It'll be 6 years this year that we've been dating. And so his sister is my sister-in-law as well. So Carla, who co-hosts the Relentless Knitting podcast with her friend Emily, and it's an audio podcast, so if you drive a lot or you need something on in the background while you're cooking dinner or whatever, I really enjoy listening to them. So give them a chance, give them a try. They are awesome. I really like their Adventures in Mommyhood section where they talk about all the new things that happen with their babies. One of them being my nephew, who is adorable. So if you want to hear random stories about that time that they pooped in the tub or the new things that kids learn and just how they figure things out around them, it's really cool. Carla's also working on a master knitting course, which is really cool. Some of the stuff that she has to do is it's like a university course for knitting. So she's had to write papers on like hand blocking or wet blocking and that kind of stuff, and it's really going to benefit me. Let's just get real here. She's already a great resource whenever I have questions about knitting, but when she's a master knitter, there will be lots of information that I inadvertently will learn from her. So I'm really excited to say that she's coming to Edmonton. She's going to fly out really late on the 16th and stay until the morning of the 22nd. So we've already agreed to do a podcast together, which I'm really excited about. It seems like she's excited about too, because she's already talking about stuff that she wants to work on and bring to show. We're also going to hit up the Alberta Yarn Project for the 21st. They have a knit event at the Tea Girl. So if you're in Edmonton and you haven't checked out any of the Alberta Yarn Project stuff, you should. They really want to focus on getting groups of people together, having nice places where you can drink and knit, because sometimes knitting in bars is disgusting. So they host a craft and draught I believe it's every month at their co-op, and it's a lot of fun. They also have yarn for sale. Some of it's hand spun from their members, and other ones are just from all around Alberta. So they really try to keep things local, which is really nice. So Carla and I have planned to go to that. We have plans to party, we have plans to knit, we have plans to podcast, and I'm going to be hosting my crafternoon on the 20th. I was originally aiming for the 12th, but with Carla here, I'm hoping to have everyone show up on the 20th, and we can have a big crafternoon that I might record some stuff from. So besides that, another thing that I've been working on is tea drinking. Yesterday, I was using my robot tea maker to drink a lot of tea. I have so much tea at home that I don't drink that has been in boxes for years. So right now I'm working on a tea journal, which is just a fancy note on my phone where I categorize the teas that I like and that I don't. And my rating system basically is stars, so out of 5 stars, and then just a really quick description. So far, this is what it looks like. My review of I think I could probably be a little bit more descriptive. But I tend to be really particular about the teas that I drink. I tend to be really particular about when I drink tea. Like, a lot of people drink tea in the winter. That's like a winter thing. Whereas for me, it's coffee. I only really go hardcore on the tea in the spring and summer for some reason. So I really just kind of want to start drinking it and get it out of my house, because there's so much room being taken up by tea that isn't being drank. So I'm trying a cup. If I like it, I will keep it. If I don't, I'm tossing it at this point because some of it is 2 to 3 years old. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been working on. I'm really not looking forward to being conscious today. I have a class to go to in a couple hours and I just really want to be in the fetal position in bed. So we'll see how it goes. That's pretty much all I've got this week. Next week I might either not podcast or move my podcast recording to the weekend, mostly because I might be taking a day trip to Calgary on Wednesday or Thursday. And if that happens, then I won't be recording until afterwards. Mostly because I don't think that it'll be fun going to Calgary, loading up on stuff at Stash, and then having to wait a week to podcast to be like, look what I got. So if I podcast at all next week, it'll be during the weekend. If I don't, then don't be surprised. It might be an off week for me. Other than that, I'm feeling terrible. I'm gonna go down a bottle of Pepto and get back into bed and hopefully wake up at some point feeling like a human being. So I hope you feel so much better than me. I hope your week has been going really well, and I hope that you're looking forward to the weekend. That's gonna be all for me. All for me. I don't know. It's gonna be all for me this week. Happy crafting. I hope that you feel good, and I just want to be asleep. So I hope that you're feeling better than me. I hope that you had a good week, and I hope that you're having a great time knitting or working on your projects. Once again, if you missed it at the beginning, I can be found pretty much anywhere on the internet as Loose Pages, which is my Instagram account, Twitter, Reddit, Pinterest, pretty much everything. The only thing that's different is Ravelry, which is romperlust. So if you wanted to be friends with me on Ravelry, I'd appreciate that. Let's be friends. Join my group. That's pretty much all for me this week. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye.